I thank you for taking the time to be here. This is oftentimes the classes that I lead when we do these master classes. They come from questions, concerns, reach out from women, mainly on Instagram. The best way to ever get connected with me is definitely in my Instagram DMs. It's where I spend the most time. I'm not really too much of a Facebook person anymore, but I spend a lot of time in Instagram. And so we've also been really surveying and polling our community in the last little bit. And what's really interesting to me, not just through the lens of connecting online, but also when I teach in person, is that so many women, we shouldn't be at a time where we have more confusion about our bodies because of the accessibility to resources and podcasts and books and doing things like this. But there's so much information that is constantly coming at us that we have to mentally try to sort through and figure out what is for me, what is not. Then you have it coming at you through the emotional lens that when you hear something that resonates with what you're going through, right? A symptom picture that you have been going through, test results that you have seen or come back, a dismissal from, your doctor or somebody that you've been working with, frustration, whatever it is. So we have this like mental intelligent part of us that hears all the information that's coming in. We're trying to figure it out. Then you have an emotional nervous system reaction to what it is that you hear. And oftentimes we just will shut down, or we go into the opposite energy, which is where we're overproductive. So we're trying to do everything. We're trying to chase every metric, every plan, get everything set in place, or we hands off the wheel, like just paralyzed by the overwhelm. And so we don't do anything. And I'm that person where I live in the middle. I live in the middle in that I like to understand and know more about each individual woman's story and what she's going through. And right now, when I have these conversations with women, group or one-to-one, everything is getting brushed under. Oh, well, you're between 38 and 50 something. It's just perimenopause. Just buckle up. You're just going to be in this for like 8 to 12 years and, explore getting some hormone replacement therapy, eat fiber, get protein, lift heavy, and, just you got to get through it. White knuckle your way through it. And when I sit back, yes, is it true that in your mid to late phase, typically between 35 and 38, you are going to have ovarian changes? That is going to happen, okay? Meaning your ovulatory patterns are going to shift. You're not going to ovulate as often. The signaling from the brain to the ovaries to mature and ripen the follicles on the ovaries to release an egg is going to change. The amount of progesterone you're producing is going to change. The amount of estrogen is going to change. Your adrenal health is going to change. Your thyroid might be implicated. Your gut health is going to change. All of those things are going to happen naturally for us as women by design in our human body. That does not mean something is wrong with us. That does not mean something is broken. It does not mean something needs to go and be fixed. The issue is that if you have severity within any of these, so let's say that for you, your fatigue is not just like, I'm a little bit more tired than I used to be. Your fatigue is, I cannot friggin' get myself up in the morning. I feel like I need to have a kindergarten nap in the afternoon like I used to, when I was a child. I can't make it past 7 o'clock at night. There's a huge difference between a woman saying that's how she's feeling and there just being a symptom of a little bit of fatigue. There's a massive difference between someone saying, like my hair's changing, it's getting a little bit more coarse, it's a little bit more thin versus the woman that's like, I am losing handfuls of hair every time I get out of the shower. I am noticing that I actually have like patches where I don't have any hair that's growing back. There's a huge difference in that. There's a big difference in the woman who is saying, I have a little bit more like aches and pains that I used to versus the woman who's like, I all of a sudden have frozen shoulder, right? Or whatever that might be. So what I wanted to do today in creating this class that's called Is It Even Perimenopause is I wanted to be able to talk to you through the lens of some of the different clusters of symptoms and how to know what you should be asking for, sometimes pushing for when it comes to your care. Because yes, we have come a long in terms of being able to advocate for ourselves, go in and ask for certain tests, go in and ask for certain levels of care, ask for things like hormone replacement therapy, therapy. We have accessibility to more nutritionists and naturopaths and functional practitioners than we ever had before. We have more access online to understand what, vitamins and minerals and supplements to be taking. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are any healthier or any more educated. And so before I open up today, because I do have quite a bit that I want to go through, you will get the recording of this on Monday. I'm also going to give you a little resource guide to go with this that'll like our Simplicity Coles notes that we create. So you'll have that to keep on hand. I'm going to give you a blood work guide as well. So you have that so that you can go and print that off when you're going to your doctor's office. And I do not know how to get your Bluetooth speaker to work with that. I would just use your regular speaker that's in your computer. I'm not a tech person. I'm your ovary person, but I am not your tech person for that. So that's what I'm going to send you. So in saying that, 2 things I would like you to do. Please get off your phone. I'm going to tell you something, ladies. If you are in a position where you are feeling frustrated and not feeling connected to your body and not understanding, you need to stop multitasking. Meaning, if you have taken the time to be here right now, please be here. And it is not for me that I am saying this. It is for you. All in 100% for the next hour with me, pay attention. Because when we don't, you're going to miss something. And this is how we move through life, right? We're just like so overstimulated, we miss the most important thing. So that's number 1. Number 2, I would like from just a couple of you, I would really love to know what motivated you to come into this class today, right? So if you can just take a minute, I would love if you could just pop it into the chat. What motivated you to come here today? I would really love to know because being here on a Saturday morning is not for nothing, okay? Hi, Stacy. So I'll just give you a moment to type that in. Right. And it's always amazing for me to know because there may be things that you pop in there. I'm like, oh, I wasn't going to cover that today, but I could cover that at another class, right? Friends, I could teach you every single day of the week. I could have a year-long program where it's like, we're just going to come together and I'm going to teach you everything you should have known about your body. Because really, like, this class exists for one reason. You have to stop accepting somebody saying to you, it's just perimenopause. Can we stop doing that? Like, we're treating it's just perimenopause like that's the end of the conversation. Perimenopause is real. We are all going to go through it. It is not a diagnosis. It is not an illness. It is actually a beautiful transition and stepping stone into our midlife as women. And until we get to a place where we can look at it through the lens of reverence and respect our bodies in that way, and then know how to take care of our bodies, the second that we can drop all these illusions that we are supposed to be in our fees and in our fees and still look like we did when we were in our 20s, we are sitting in a massive state of misaligned energy right now in women's health. On one hand, you're like being told to embody the wisdom of midlife and move into this crone energy. And on the other hand, it's like, but also don't have wrinkles. Don't let your hair go gray. Don't, for God forbid, your body shape change. Like, don't do that. So stay exactly as you've been in your 20s and in your 30s, but then also go and embrace being this woman over here. Well, if you're going to step into the wise woman, that wise woman does not look back at the woman of the past and be like, oh, I wish I could be here. She looks at the woman of the past and she goes, thank you, sweet girl. Thank you, young woman, for being who you were to get me to the place I am today. I'm going to gather up all the knowledge and the wisdom. I'm going to teach you things you did not know about your body at that time. And we are going to continue to elevate and expand as the women as we are moving forward. That is the whole goal. Not what we get fed through marketing and advertising and all the bullshit that is out there, trying to convince you that the you that you are right now is somehow not enough. Now, we need to step into a place of empowerment with our health and our body to really determine, like, how do you know what vitality means for you as a woman? How do you know what it means to feel vital in your 40s or into your 50s and beyond? If the information that you're deciding that for about yourself is what's coming from the outside, the first place of work might be really determining, like, what does health feel like for you? For me, health feels like when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to wake up in the morning and move into my day, not needing to snooze a whole bunch of times, not everything cracking when I roll over to get out of bed, not looking in the mirror and being like, oh my God, like, who is that? It's having energy to get up and to get going. It's being able to interact with people in a way where I actually like them. and I'm kind to them. Feeding and nourishing my body where when I eat, I'm not bloated and gassy and like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to consume anymore. Exercising in a way where I feel strong and happy and empowered. Sleeping well throughout the night. Like, what is your definition of health? You have to understand what it is you're even trying to feel and move towards at this time in your life, ladies. Otherwise, you will get swept up with somebody else's idea of what that is supposed to be. And that is actually where I see one of the greatest sources of inflammation. You're moving towards goals that have been set for you by a standard, a social standard, a community standard. What is your standard? What is your standard for yourself and for your health? Okay, this is amazing. Now I can start to see some of these coming in here. Knowledge about symptoms and what might be happening. Recently started HRT, thyroid, and progesterone. And thank you, Amy, for writing that, because so many people who have a beef with hormone replacement therapy, I'm like, you do realize that thyroid medication is hormone therapy, insulin, so, diabetes support is hormone therapy. For that, you want to learn more, make sure you're on the right path. A major and sudden increase in perimenopausal symptoms, including my period stopping abruptly. Okay, interesting on that one. I'm just scrolling. Okay, loving all of this. Thank you, Jen. Okay, symptoms, understanding. Okay. All right. Yeah, I can understand that frustration, Tracy. Like Tracy saying, I don't think we should have to spend thousands of dollars and insane hours to feel normal. I'm exhausted and been healthy for a very long time. So here's the one tricky part on that. When it comes to having appropriate testing run, good luck getting that in your average doctor's office. Number one, and it's not that they don't want to run the test. Partial is that they've not been trained in actual functional diagnostic testing. They've been trained in Western medicine testing, which has been preset by government standards. And every province or state or country that you live in, every region has a different standard. So I live in British Columbia, but I'm from Ontario. These same labs that we can order for women and get done are not the same in British Columbia as they are in Ontario. They're also not the same in Alberta. They're not the same on the East Coast or the Atlantic coast of Canada. So we have to go pay for additional testing in order to find out what is going on in that woman's body. Western medicine won't run urinary, salivary, hair, stool. That was the type of testing to be able to understand not just what's happening in the body in the moment, but how does the body utilize, metabolize, break that down. Those tests cost money. Average functional health test is going to cost minimum $500. So the reality is that instead of us getting frustrated by not having to spend thousands, we should have been taught a long time ago, you don't have free healthcare. You have free, you get in a car accident, something bad happens, you have that kind of health support, but you don't have free women's health prevention healthcare. You don't have that. And so we should have been taught to create a health spending account and a health savings account, the same way that people will tell you to put aside a savings account, RESPs for your kids' education, RRSPs, pay into your retirement future. How do we have our future for our retirement if we don't have our health right now? So the frustration people get is we have been taught, and I'll tell you, we work in countries all over the world. The hardest country to work with women in to understand this is Canada, because we have been taught we have free healthcare and you friggin' don't. You do not. And as a woman, you're going to have to, we have just set up in BC, a backdoor accessibility to vaginal estrogen because of how hard it is for women to get this. Now, we have provincial laws that are coming in place where your hormone therapy can now be covered underneath certain levels of care, but your doctor has to say yes to it. The buck is going to stop at your doctor. And then the doctor's buck is going to stop at their college, their association, their mentors. 100%. We pay now or we pay later. So it is one of those things where I can understand the frustration, and it may mean that some of the things that you're going to get testing or you're going to get done, it's not a right now thing. You're going to put the lifestyle pieces in place and you're going to save to go and get it done. And there's a spectrum, right? We could be talking a few $100 extra to get a complete full thyroid, insulin, glucose, lipid, and iron panel run that is not being done in your doctor's office. Because I can 100% guarantee you, when you go to the doctor and you say, I want to get full blood work done, they're not running full blood work. The definition of full blood work can have 10 different meanings. So you have to know what to ask for, which is why I am sending you the blood work guide that we give our private clients, You don't take this to the lab. You take it to your physician. You take it to your naturopath and you ask them, I would like to get these run. Now, what's important for all of you to understand is they don't have to say yes. They literally do not. Also, some of them are under an oath where if they don't understand what to do with the results, they legally cannot run that test for you. So I actually have a lot of respect for the doctors who say, for instance, you go in and say, I want to get the full thyroid panel done. I want to get my antibodies done and reverse T3. Your doctor might say to you, I can't run that test because your TSH is within normal range. I don't see any reason. I don't have any clinical evidence on these test results. There's nothing that's highlighted here where I can go back to my board and say the reason I went and sent her for these other tests is because I had concern right here with this being highlighted. These numbers aren't high enough for me to run tests on you. I can't go do that. They have every right to do that. You also have every right to say, okay, I will pay out of pocket, just charge me for it, and I'll take it to someone else to interpret. They can say yes or no to that. You can say, fine, let's get you to run whatever you'll run in here. And then you go to your naturopath and you pay out of pocket to get it run. You might work with a company like us. We can go and run blood labs. You do have to pay more because for us, like I am not a prescribing doctor. I'm not a requisition doctor, okay? What we do as a team is we work with third parties. So when you come and you work with a company like us, and there's lots of practitioners who do this, I'm part of an association where we pay into a medical director program. So we have MDs and doctors that sit on a directory board who are still in practice. They sign off on the requisitions we are asking for. There's a fee for that. It's a $75 USD fee. It's about $108 Canadian just for their signature. That's not including the test. It's not including the time of working with someone. So you have to understand that this is not just like, this isn't just transactional. And when you're getting testing done, you want to make sure. I have a woman I just started to work with. She pays into a private MD care system here in BC. She pays $10,000 a year, okay, for the year for her testing and all of that. No one has taken her through her test results. So I'm like, so you have access to the physicians, you have access to the testing, but no one's explaining the results to you. I also wouldn't say to somebody, go and get all the tests done. Like, even if you're working with somebody functional, why are you going to go and get all the tests done if you're not going to take the time to understand them? And if we go run a bunch of tests for you and you're not going to do the protocols, you are wasting your money. So you don't need to go run the gamut of tests. And this is the difference when you work with somebody one-on-one. Have an initial consultation. Decide in that moment, what are tests you've already have run? Review those tests. How long ago were they done? Do we need to retest some things? And then you decide. Like if you came to me and you had all these things going on with your gut health, do you think I'm going to say we should go test your hormones right now? No. I'm going to be like, we're going to do a poo test. We're going to do complete blood, because I need to understand that. Blood is always a must, and we're going to test your poop. We're going to test your stool. That's where we're starting. I'm not giving you a Dutch test right out of the gates. Why would I do that? Your biggest symptoms are going on with your gut. And I can guarantee you, if we work on supporting your gut, guess what's going to calm down? A lot of your hormonal symptoms. Okay? Cool. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready? I just need a yes. I just need a little raise the roof. We got hockey again today, guys. We got to bring it. Thank you, Jenn Bishop. Thank you, Jenn Bishop. Okay. All right. Also, P.S. in the hockey stands, I can tell the women whose hormones are stable and the ones who are not. A little rowdy, a little crazy, just a little bit crazy. Okay. So let's get into this. Here are the main things that I think are overlooked when we tell women it's just perimenopause. Number one, your beautiful thyroid. This butterfly-shaped gland has such an important role in your bodies, ladies, such an important role. And most of the ways that we get taught to take care of it are actually crushing it. Low carb, so not good. Constant dieting, so not good. Living in a perpetual state of high intensity interval training, adrenaline-based living in life, the overjacked calendar, never having time to sit still, our worth being connected to productivity. That was me for so long. I always thought I had to be productive in order to be recognized. And if I was sitting down and sitting still, I was lazy. There's something that always needed to be done. This beautiful thyroid, it's part of your endocrine system, and hormones do not work in isolation. So I want you to understand It's impossible for you to only have a thyroid issue. It is impossible for you to just have low progesterone, only have elevated or low estrogen. You just have low DHEA. Your cortisol is the only issue. That physiologically is impossible to happen in the body because all of these hormones are chemicals. They're all messengers and they are all part of the same team and they work in unison. They are talking to each other all the time. If one goes low, someone else tries to course correct going high. If one goes high, other players are coming in to try to mediate that response in the body. And your body is really good at doing this. So when you had stress in your teens and your 20s and in your 30s, and you're like, it's all good. I got it. Because you have all the resources. Every team player is there. You get into your 40s and you get hooligans on the team. You get some who, they're in the penalty box, some who get kicked out, some are just like, I don't play this game anymore. And they're just, the team is gone. And now you are left with fewer resources to be able to like move through the game of life, essentially. So when we think about this thyroid, the way in which you nourish yourself, you have to take this into account. Majority of the women that we work with from a clinical perspective and who come into Ignite or into like the hormone project programs that we run, thyroid is typically a part of that. Most of them are diagnosed incorrectly when they go and work with their doctor because their lab ranges will come back clinically fine. TSH is fine, but it's not optimal. Production, conversion, fine, not normal. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. But if you are a woman who has fatigue, you have weight gain, you have brain fog, you have hair loss or hair thinning, you are cold all the time, you have constipation, your mood shifts quite a bit, you are also noticing that your luteal phase, if you still get a period, which would be like the last week or so before you start to bleed, it is becoming more amplified for you. Your immune system is not as resilient as it once used to be. I would be doing an investigation into your thyroid. Subclinical hypothyroidism would be that you don't have like a lot of the top-down symptoms that are really prevalent. You're not urinating a ton. You don't have like a goiter. And I will tell you though, if you've been told you have nodules on your thyroid, don't just let your doctor say, we're just going to like wait, watch and see it for a few months. And then we'll do another ultrasound and I'll just have a little feel around. You want to start to work with somebody right away to get in there and be proactive. When we test TSH alone, it is not enough. First of all, that thyroid stimulating hormone, it doesn't come from the gland. It's in your brain. It's a signaling mechanism. So when we test TSH, what we're really testing is we're not testing the thyroid gland. We're testing your brain's ability to create the signal, for the signal to get down to the thyroid, and that's it. So TSH, you're thinking like it's up here. Well, can it be helpful to understand your signaling pattern? Yes. I want to see it somewhere between like 0.81 to 2 max. Anytime TSH starts to climb above 2, okay, and this is through a functional lens. If you're to ask your doctor, they would say between 0.5 and 4.5, it's totally normal. That's not actually true. If your TSH starts to climb above 2, it's starting to get sluggish. The higher the number gets, the louder it is having to yell to this gland to now actually produce your thyroid hormones, okay? So when TSH starts to climb, when it goes up, you go down. This is where your energy isn't there, the brain fog, the mood swings, that you're cold all the time, your skin is dry, your hair is thinning and falling out. Like, think about this. Underactive thyroid, which means it's slow, everything else slows down. Digestion, motility, mood, energy, weight, everything starts to slow down. Hyperactive, which is less common but does happen, that's the opposite that's happening, okay? So when we're looking at thyroid, yes, we measure TSH, but we do it in unison with about 5 other tests. We have to measure your T4, your free T4, coming from the gland, your free T3 coming from the gland. And then what happens is your body, this is how smart your body is. When your thyroid produces these hormones, the T4 gets shuttled down your body into the liver, and the liver and the gut are going to work together now to convert that T4, which is metabolically inactive. into your free T3. Every cell in your entire body has a receptor site. Literally, it's like a lock and key that is waiting for this free T3 to give you energy, to keep your brain functioning optimally, for your memory to be incredible, for your recall to be incredible, for your metabolic function to be sound, for your body temperature to be regulated, for your reproductive system to be regulated, for your gut to get the signaling that it needs. The whole system is calibrated on this. So if all we look at is TSH, and your doctor goes, well, you're fine. And then you're telling me, I'm tired, I'm cold all the time, I have brain fog, my hair is falling out, I do not feel like myself. I'm going to push deeper. I'm going to go and get TSH, free T4, free T3. We're going to test your antibodies. If your antibodies for your thyroid, which is your thyroid peroxidase and your antithyroglobulin, if they're elevated, now we have a nervous system and an immune system response that's coming into this. This is Hashimoto's. We don't treat hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's hypothyroidism exactly the same. So some women will have clinically like a low functioning thyroid. Other women are going to have the autoimmune form, and we need to take a slightly different approach with this. Getting the testing is super important. So in the blood requisition guide that I'm giving you all, I have all of this written out and included for you, okay? So what I see happen a lot in perimenopause is that this just gets brushed under the rug. And you then have to wait until your lab ranges get so loud and so bad that now we're not in a position where we're talking about how we get in front of it. Now you're being talked to about starting something like Synthroid. Or if you're working with an ND, NDT, naturally desiccated thyroid. A lot of women, I'm going to tell you, I am one of them. I was walking around with subclinical hypothyroidism, thin phenotype. I do not have a weight issue, but I had all the other symptoms going on. It was blood combined with testing my hair that showed me this. So when we test hair, we run a test called HTMA. It's a hair tissue mineral analysis. You have a lot of different ratios, but your calcium to potassium ratio, it tells us when things are starting to go awry in your thyroid on the cellular tissue level. What we have to understand is that when something shows up in your blood, it's been going on for a while, because it's moved from the cells out into that blood, which is just like a snapshot in the moment. The other thing is when we test something like tissue, like your hair, is that this is like weeks and months worth of data. When we test your blood, it's what's happening in that moment. If you lived a very a different day rather, like today was like a super chill, calm day. Tomorrow, like tonight, you have a bad sleep. Dog has you up in the middle of the night. Fire alarm goes off in the morning. Like you just, everything is like, "Rah!" And we were to do your blood test today. And we were to test things like cortisol and different markers. And we go and do it tomorrow. They are not going to be the same. So in perimenopause, there's a lot of fluctuations. And you will hear many practitioners say, the reason we don't test your hormones in perimenopause is because there's too much fluctuation. This is where there is a yes and. So the yes would be, that is true. There's a lot of fluctuation. Your hormones are not the same depending on different phases and what's going on. The and part is that, and we don't negate looking at testing simply because that one factor is true. The greatest fluctuations you will have in perimenopause are your estrogen and progesterone. So do we measure hormones in blood labs to determine hormone replacement therapy dosing? No. We look at it as part of the information. There is something that we utilize in our clinic called the Mira Fertility Tracker. I have a podcast in a couple of weeks. I interviewed the medical director for this. I've been using this now for over 4 months, and it has been wildly illuminating in terms of the changes that are happening, okay, in your hormones. And the other thing is that we have women hyper-focus on estrogen and progesterone in perimenopause, and there's not enough education around your FSH. And this is a follicular stimulating hormone. It again comes from your brain, the same gland in the brain where you're producing your thyroid stimulating hormone. And FSH should be at its peak around the second or third day of your period. And the reason being is when you're on your period, your hormones overall, they've been at their lowest, right? This is what signals the lining of your uterus to shed. This is when we have a bleed that starts, okay? Now, a couple of days into that, this hormone gets secreted that starts to talk to the follicles on your ovaries. And it's like, start to ripen, start to mature. In about a week, week and a half time, we're going to need to pick an egg and we're going to need to release it and ovulate. This is how we produce progesterone. Okay. So when you don't ovulate anymore, or you have a weaker ovulation that happens, this is when progesterone starts to tank. This is when you're getting spotting before your period. You're having breakthrough bleeding. You have a shorter luteal phase. You have a shorter fuse. Your sleep is not so fantastic. When we look at something like FSH, the higher this number climbs, okay, and the longer it stays high for, so we're tracking it months over months, the longer this stays elevated, this is telling us that the brain is having to yell. So when I start to see it climb in women above 10, 15, and it is consistently staying up there, this tells me her ovarian function is starting to decline. She's further down the perimenopause path. She is closer to menopause than she is at the beginning of perimenopause. Because the reason that the signal has to get loud is the ovaries below and the follicles are like, excuse you, I work part-time now. Your glory years are done. I work part-time. I don't do that. I don't secrete the same amounts. If you've had a massive amount of stress, so it can be like trauma in your life. I will say the other thing is that perimenopause is a time of convergence in women's life. So there may have been something that happened to you as a young child, tween and teen years at some point. And at that time in your life, you were able to pack it up, put it in a little box somewhere in the body, and move forward, and you figured out coping mechanisms. Okay. Sometimes that's anxiety working itself out loud. It can be all different things, overfunctioner, whatever it may be. You get into perimenopause and closer to menopause, and now you don't have a lot of these anti inflammatory hormones in the same levels and amount that you used to. You don't have the same amount of resources, as I said earlier. And now things start to bubble and come to the surface. And so now you're met with the mental emotional side of what is happening in your body, combined with the physiological side of hormones that are shifting. And when we are starting to lose our ability to have those same reserves, that's when it just feels like everything is coming at you at the same time. Hormone replacement therapy may help some women bridge that. And for others, they're going to need to have a little bit more support. So when we work with women who say, I started HRT, like some women started HRT and they're like, oh my God, like I got my brain back, I got my life back. And other women start it and they're like, I just, when someone says it didn't work, I have like 7 questions. My first is, tell me about what's going on with the rest of your health. Can I look at your blood work? What's going on with your thyroid? Because if your thyroid's not functioning well, that's going to have an impact on your HRT uptake. What's going on with your liver? Have we looked at liver enzymes? Do we have any inflammation there? What's going on with your lipids, your cholesterol panel? How about your fasting insulin and fasting glucose? Do we have inflammation, autoimmune illness, something else that's happening somewhere? That's going to impact your body's ability to uptake and use it. Is the form that you have been recommended the best? Maybe the patch doesn't work well for you. Maybe you need a gel. Maybe you need oral. Maybe you need a different type. Maybe you need vaginal. Maybe like there's all different types and forms. So when you're going through all of this, I also want you to remember there is no one size fits all, ladies. There is no one size fits all. It doesn't matter if your twin sister has the same symptoms as you. She has not lived the exact same life as you. And that's where your epigenetics comes into place. So you cannot be comparing some other woman's experience to the expectation you're putting on your body of that. And that's where the individualized care comes from, okay? If you have nodules on your thyroid, as you're asking there, in Western medicine, it's gonna go doctor and then endocrinologist. So I would work with either a functionally integrative nutritionist, so that would be like myself or Stephanie that's on our team, or working with a naturopath who has a specialty in thyroid health and care. So the other thing is that as you become more specialized in the area in your body you're trying to work on, you're now trying to step away from working with a generalist and you want to work with a specialist. So naturopathic doctors, beautifully trained, but generalist, okay? So you want to, if you're going to work with an ND, you want to ask, like, do you specialize in? Like if someone were to come to me who was just diagnosed with cancer, I do not specialize in oncology. So there's a lot of things I can help them do for their cellular health, but I would refer them to a colleague of mine who specializes in oncology. I would not take that on. It's not my scope. If it's gut, thyroid, adrenal, endocrine, hormone based, we're your friggin' team. But there's certain things where that's not, like if someone came to us with an autoimmune condition, I'm like, I know what that is, but I am not well versed in it. I'm not taking that client on. So you want to actually ask the people you're working with, like, do you specialize in this? Because that's where you can get stuck in the position where you feel like you're spending thousands of dollars and wasting your energy. It's just that you went into the wrong room asking for the right solution. It's like going to the carpenter who builds houses out of wood and being like, can you also do the electrical? They've been around it, but do you really want a wood specialist working with electrical wires? You do not. Okay. It's the same thing. So we're all of us are trying to look for a one-stop shop. Stop it. You are actually making it harder for yourself. Find the people who specialize in the thing that you need support and you need help in. Okay. Your TSH was 94. My G, OMG. That is, I've never heard of a TSH being that elevated. Wow. Okay. I don't even understand how you were functioning with a TSH of 94. Do I ever take iodine drops? I don't take iodine drops, but I use a supplement, Nutrafol, that has iodine in it for that. And again, I'm not like, please, nobody go write down Nutrafol and go and order these things. I wouldn't be taking something like iodine unless I had been doing testing and somebody was recommending it for you to be able to go and do. So let's pull this back. Okay, let's come back into this. So thyroid, everybody understands now what is the one thing that you 100% want to rule out when you have perimenopause symptoms? You want to rule out any issues with your thyroid. Do we all understand this? Because this is really important. If no one has done a full check on your thyroid, please let this be the next place that you begin with your health journey. And again, you're going to get the blood work copy from us to understand what to ask for. Don't be frustrated if your doctor says no. You're just going to go and you're going to pay out of pocket to go and get those tests done. Simple as that. Everybody is going to get their thyroid checked. Very important. Also, for those of you who have daughters, please make sure that you are starting to get your daughter's thyroids checked when they are teens. If you have girls who have a lot of issues going on with their periods, okay, so it could be PMS, pain, inflammation, throwing up, headache, started period late, inconsistent period, told they have PCOS, please go and get your girls' thyroids fully checked. We want to get in front of these things. Get your daughters. I would have your daughters work with Stephanie on our team, get their hair tested. If you have a daughter who is having lots of symptoms going on, the only thing that's been offered to her is something like a birth control pill or an IUD. Let's get full blood workup done. Let's test her hair. The hair testing is less than $200 to get done. We can see on a cellular level what is happening and we can start to put something in place so she doesn't have to go through her 20s or when she wants to try and conceive or in her postpartum years or in her 40s, what maybe you have gone through. So I would highly recommend that as a mama of a teen girl. Help your girls get in front of it. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is your adrenal axis. Dismissed all the time, because if you were to go to a doctor and say, I think I have adrenal fatigue, they would go, that's not a thing. Stop letting that influencer online tell you that's a thing. That's the sign we give for that. So adrenal fatigue may not be what it is called clinically because it is referred to as an HPA axis imbalance, which means HPA stands for your hypothalamus, your pituitary, adrenal axis or system. Hypothalamus, pituitary in your brain. So when your body is picking up and responding to distress, which again, this is a brilliant gift we have from our body. So please stop, you have to be careful the language you use with yourself. Like, oh, I'm a worrywart. And if there wasn't bad luck, there'd be no luck. And, sky's always falling. And, I'm such a stress case. Stop saying those things, okay? Because your nervous system and your brain talking to each other, this is how you're designed to stay alive. So whatever you're going through in the world, your body picks up on those stressors. It does not have to be your internal stress. You're watching something stressful. You hear about something on the news stressful. I was sitting in a hockey game last night and I think I thought my body was like, we're on the ice right now, right? When the fights were happening. Real, imagined, anticipated, remembered from way back when. Your body has a process. And your brain communicates with your adrenals. Your adrenals are not only where you produce cortisol, you produce cortisol in the adrenals, you have your cortex and your medulla, but you also manage your cortisol here. So some women, they produce a great amount of cortisol. The production is not the issue, but how they use it is the issue. They either clear it really quickly or they are a slow clearance woman, meaning it hangs around for a while, which is what's leaving them anxious, wired and tired, always feeling frenetic, can't relax and sit still. Some women have low cortisol production, but the body's actually doing a pretty good job at trying to manage it. When we look at different dials of cortisol, so this is where a Dutch complete test would come in. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite test for looking at adrenals, and because we can add saliva testing into it as well. So we would test you as soon as you wake up in the morning to help us understand your cortisol awakening response. We would test it within about 30 to 60 minutes after waking. We would test it again. There's intervals that we test it, 4 points throughout the morning. This maps for us to see your rhythm. Your body, a healthy, functioning nervous system and adrenal glands. When you wake, you should, within the first half an hour to an hour of waking, produce the most cortisol you will in the whole day. Okay, this is your cortisol awakening response. We want to see a peak, and then we want to see a slow usage, a slow budget of how you manage that cortisol throughout the rest of the day, winding things down, coming to the evening to set you up for proper rest. If you're somebody where you're like, I friggin' can't get up in the morning, and the only way you get up is with coffee, with something sugary, refined carbohydrate, like a stimulant. You need to take something to get up. My alarm bells are going off around your cortisol awakening response. And there are a slew of other questions we would ask you. There's different aspects we can see in the test. But if your cortisol is dysregulated, okay, meaning too high for too long a period's time, crashing out, if we see on the dials in the Dutch test that your production is facing left, your usage is facing right, this is also another sign of a thyroid issue. So we can see normal blood work, but when we go and test your saliva, and we go and test your urinary byproduct, the body is like, excuse me, I know this test over here is saying thyroid's fine. I am telling you it is not. You need to get in front of work on this. It is also almost physiologically impossible for you to have a thyroid issue without an adrenal issue, or to have an adrenal issue without the thyroid being impacted. And your digestive system is part of these as well. When stress is dysregulated, your stomach acid decreases. When you're going through perimenopause, as we age, this doesn't matter if you're a woman or you are a man, you are naturally going to start to lose stomach acid and digestive enzymes. This is why, as you get older, you might be like, why am I bloated and gassy all the time? Why do I have morning pants and evening pants? Why do I no longer like zippers and buttons? Why am I burping? Why does my gas smell like a sewage tank? Why do I feel, indigestion more often than not? Why do I have reflux? And it can feel like for a lot of people, this never used to be my digestive system. Now I have all these symptoms. I have food sensitivities I've never had before. This doesn't just happen. This is, again, a slow brew behind the scenes. You probably were at a time when there was certain foods where you're like, ooh, I know if I eat that, I'm not going to feel great. Now that list is growing. That doesn't mean all of a sudden you have food sensitivities. You have a system issue. You have an ecosystem issue. Your digestion needs to be supported. Maybe you need digestive bitters, digestive enzymes with your meals. You have to bring in what is no longer being produced well. But you also have to ask a question. We don't go, just take enzymes. Take enzymes, and then what is it that's contributing to the stress that your body is under? Is it simply declining sex hormones, or is it that you are under stress in other areas? Is it that you are not eating in the morning and you think coffee is a breakfast? Is it that you're not getting in any carbohydrates, which are signaling mechanisms for not only glucose management, but glycogen, supporting the thyroid, you're not getting fiber in. I can guarantee you, ladies, if you aren't getting carbohydrates in, you are not getting enough fiber in. And that fiber is feeding and seeding your gut. So there's so much, I think I do more teaching for women than I do teaching, meaning I have to get them to unlearn what they've thought to be true. And in perimenopause, it is so much harder because we're working with women who are gaining weight. So what they think is cut the carbs, do more cardio, double down on effort. Because when I was in my 30s, I could do that and I could just drop the weight. That doesn't happen in your 40s, okay? Like, you have to drop that approach because you're making it worse. So now it's trying to get this woman in her 40s and her 50s who's gaining weight and telling herself, I have to be in a caloric deficit all the time. I have to stop having the carbohydrates, and trying to actually coach her on feeling safe to go and consume those foods. Because I'm sorry, but you might be in a position, ladies, where you might be 10 to 15 pounds heavier than you want to be, but do we have a beautiful working thyroid and do we have strong digestion? You are winning at the game of life. And this is the hardest thing. Our bodies are going to change. They're going to change. The shape is going to change. The composition is going to change. We're going to have a little bit more visceral fat. When we stop producing the primary estrogen from our ovaries, it is now estrone, which is E1, that is being produced in your adiposity, in your fat cells, a little bit in the liver and in the gut. Do we want it to get out of control? That's not what I'm saying. But our bodies by design are meant to hold a little bit more, a little bit more. And so if you're constantly in this battle with trying to be thin, trying to lose weight, I need you to understand that you're keeping your adrenals and your thyroid in a perpetual state of depletion. And you might be managing it okay right now, but in another decade, I can pretty much guarantee you won't be. And so again, it's like we have to understand that thyroid disease starts about 10 years early in the body. The Alzheimer's and dementia that shows up in your 60s started in your 30s. I'm not trying to say these things to scare you, but I'm trying to tell you to snap out of the wildly crazy things that we will do to our body to look a certain way. We punish ourselves and we call it health. Stop it. Because you are making what your goal is that you have so much harder to reach because of the way that you are treating your body. And so the reason I love labs for women is that when we're having a conversation with you, and now I have your blood or stool or urine or saliva in front of me, I can't bullshit you because this is your chemistry that we're looking at. This is you that we are looking at on the screen in front. And then we teach you how you to see you for what is happening right now. And once you see it, you can't unsee it and you can't unknow it. And that's where we finally start to allow ourselves to detach from what we thought it was. And we create what feels like a holistic plan for your body moving forward. Okay. So with the adrenals, this is like, if you're that woman where you say, I cannot fall asleep at night, I'm constantly waking up sometime between 1 and 4 in the morning. Enough said. Waking up between 1 and 4, we have to look at blood sugar management. We look at cortisol, but we don't blame cortisol. We're not trying to blunt your cortisol. We're trying to understand, why is cortisol being triggered? What's making your cortisol increase in the middle of the night that wakes you up and keeps you up for hours tossing and turning? Do you have afternoon crashes? When you're gaining weight, is it only around your belly? Do you have like new stuff where you're like, what in the, okay? And do you have really poor recovery? Every time you try to work out, you get injured. Every time you try to work out, you get sick. Every time you feel like you try to do something good for yourself, your body goes back down, girl. These are all signs that we have some adrenal issues that we need to be working on. So, does everybody understand that we need to be taking our adrenal health seriously? And that in order to protect the adrenals, we need to be sleeping well or resting. Because sometimes when someone tells you to sleep, you're like, I want to punch you because I know I'm supposed to sleep, but I can't sleep. So instead, can you focus on getting rest? Can you eat protein, fiber from good sources of carbohydrates, healthy fats at every single meal? Can you stop skipping meals? Can you please stop fasting for 16 hours a day? If something about fasting you're drawn to, follow the work of my girlfriend, Dr. Mindy Pelz. We have her coming back on the podcast again, but she has a cyclical approach. Do I think that women in perimenopause who are having inflammation right now should be doing water fasting or extended fasting? I don't. I think for most women who believe that they need to be doing like fasts where there's like you're taking more away, I think actually what needs to be happening is rebuilding the body. I think we need to work foundation up, create some stability, and then we can start to bring some of those things into place. I want you, if you are feeling like you have adrenal and thyroid issues, please reevaluate what your workouts are. You can get extremely effective workouts in 35 to 45 minutes. not an hour to an hour and a half. If you're not part of our synced community, we'll send you a link out and give you a discount code and you can join our synced community. Everything is 35 to 45 minutes. I can guarantee you, you're going to come out of those classes, feel amazing, but not crushed. And that is the goal with your workouts at this time, my friends. You should not leave a workout feeling crushed. If you're saying to me, I need a nap after that workout, I was like sore for a week. In the beginning, when you're doing something new, not uncommon to be sore for 5-ish days. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness. But if this is the state you're living in all the time, you are always tired, you are always inflamed, that's not normal. Don't let someone just say, it's just perimenopause. That's not normal. You need to work with someone on that because you shouldn't be feeling like that. Thyroid and adrenals, now insulin. I think we all know at this point the importance of protein, okay? And it is not just to build your muscle. It's because of the amino acids in those proteins that also help to repair tissue, that support immune function, that are utilized in so many different ways. If you are finding that you have a lot of energy dips, you have more intensified sugar cravings. You are super irritable when you're hungry, okay? I know when my system is a little off because I can feel hunger and then I'm usually good for like an hour before I would need to have something. If I feel hungry and then I'm like I want to hurt someone and I am just like, friggin' feed me now or else, that's not a healthy sign, okay? That's like, you hear it as hangry in that you're having a hypoglycemic episode. You're having a blood sugar dip. You have to be careful and mindful of these. The more hypoglycemic dips that you have, this is a slippery slope for what's going to happen with the health of your fasting insulin. So it is important to respond to your body. Ideally, we should be able to go 3 to 4 hours at least in between our main meals. So if you're telling me you have to eat every couple of hours, perhaps your meals, they aren't enough. A lot of women we work with, this is what we specialize in inside of Ignite, is trying to get you to eat enough calories and enough of each macronutrient, protein and carbs and fats and your fiber, so you're satiated. You should, ladies, be able to eat a meal, feel satisfied, walk away from it, have energy, be able to move into the next 3 to 4 hours of your day. And you start to kind of build this internal clock where in about 3.5 hours, you're going to be like, oh, I feel like I'm hungry. And you look and you're like, yeah, sure enough. That was about 3.5, 4 hours ago. That's a really healthy response. The women who tell me I can't eat in the morning, I'm just not healthy, we've got some work to do because that's not an appropriate response. It already tells me we have metabolic dysfunction happening. And then it's again, what are the questions? Is the reason you're not hungry because you're drinking caffeine or coffee in the morning? Black tea, coffee, whatever it is in the morning, that's an appetite suppressant. It's also a laxative. And it is also going to diminish your hydrochloric acid. So 3 things that are going to make you feel like you're not hungry and you can just keep going. If we were to take the coffee away, if we were to delay the coffee or the tea or the matcha, whatever it is you're having, by 2 hours, you're telling me in 2 hours' time, if all you've drank in the morning, you're not hungry, we have work to do. You should be hungry with it. And it also tells me what's happening with your adrenals. If you're not hungry in the morning, we have dysregulated cortisol awakening response. You should be hungry within the first hour to a maximum of 2 hours of waking. And this one change for women, this one change can reset your thyroid equilibrium, can reset your adrenal axis, and can reset your metabolic health and function. This one change. So at a time where you might be telling yourself, this is overwhelming, there's too much, there's too many changes. First of all, can you just please stop that? You're getting in your way if you're telling yourself a fib like that. It's one change. You are all one change away from creating a ripple effect in your health, okay? So those are the big ones around your insulin and your glucose. Again, in the blood work guide, you have to ask for fasting insulin. It's very easy for a doctor to say yes to fasting glucose, but if you don't ask for fasting insulin, they won't test it. So you need to ask them to test it. And then you, my friends, have to make sure you're actually fasted, right? Not eating. The other area here, okay, so we have 14 minutes left, is your gut and your estrogen metabolization. And this gets skipped over in perimenopause all the time. You have to remember, as I was saying earlier, that by design as we age, some of these factors are naturally going to lower, like that stomach acid and your enzymes. If you don't have a gallbladder, this will hit you even harder. because you no longer have the organ that was storing all the bile that your liver was producing. And the gallbladder is a regulator. So when people have their gallbladders removed, it is unfortunate because the gallbladder becoming inflamed, having pain, having gallstones, this was a sign. This was the body saying, I need you to look here, not to take me out, but to do something to become, for the bile to be less sluggish. If we have a gallbladder issue, we have a liver issue. If we have a liver issue, we have an insulin and a lipids issue. And this is the difference when you are working with somebody for like 7 minutes in the doctor's office versus when you get an hour or longer with someone. You get to start to pull these pieces apart. So I want you to hear this. If you have a gallbladder issue, you have a liver issue. If you have a liver issue, you have an insulin and a lipids issue. Do you know what one of the biggest diagnoses that women in perimenopause and menopause are receiving right now? Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. So previously, like our generation, all of us that are this age, if you're hanging out with me here, you're like late 60s, 70s, early 80s babies, okay? You are in the era where we thought that the only time something went wrong with your liver is if you were an alcoholic. Cirrhosis of the liver, fatty liver only happened with alcohol. Yes? No. High cholesterol, we looked to the liver and we looked to blood sugar. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, this is insulin resistance to the max. The amount of women who come into our practice where their liver enzymes are elevated, and you don't have to be overweight. Oftentimes people will hear insulin resistance, which what that means is your body, your cells now have become less sensitive to uptaking and utilizing insulin that either the pancreas is being told to secrete or the food you are consuming is elevating that insulin level in the body, and your body is no longer doing the job that it used to be able to uptake and utilize it. So it's staying more elevated in the bloodstream. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. It does more than that, but it is a fat storing hormone. So if insulin is dysregulated, this does make you more vulnerable to putting on more body weight, specifically around your midsection, around the bra area, upper arms and face that you do not consider to be desirable. Hey, for a lot of women when they were younger, maybe they were carrying it in their hips and thighs. They noticed they had more cellulite. They move into the perimenopause, menopause window, and now they're like it. Now everything is moving up, right? It's all coming around that midsection. This is really important to pay attention to. So if nobody's helped you understand your insulin factors, your lipids, right? Your full cholesterol panel, and looking at things like your liver enzymes in conjunction with saying to you, like, what's going on digestively? There's a lot of things that we can be doing. There's a lot of things in your diet. We may have to put you on lower fat for a period of time if we have gallbladder and liver stuff going on. We may need to give you things, not just enzymes, but TUDCA. Okay, TUDCA is a beautiful, the name is insane. I can't even pronounce it. It's like 72 letters long. But it is specific to helping to regulate the flow of bile in the gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, you have to, okay? I don't say this often, have to, but you have to take a digestive enzyme with your main meals that contain bile. It's usually ox bile and pancreatin. When we don't have a gallbladder, we become mineral deficient within a couple of years. Your body requires minerals for every level of health. Every system. And there's no coincidence that when women have their gallbladder removed, typically within the next 5 to 7 years, they're diagnosed with a thyroid issue because your thyroid is requiring all of those minerals for production and conversion. Nothing is separate, my friends. Nothing. Okay. So adrenals, thyroid, insulin, gut. These are the areas we don't brush under the rug under perimenopause, okay? We need to be paying attention to this. The other thing that I wanted to just say today in this is that you do not want to take your vasomotor symptoms, your hot flashes, and your night sweats and go, it's just perimenopause. These are cardiac events that are happening. They create more stress on the body than simply heat that is happening. Now, if you are really suffering from hot flashes, you need to evaluate your relationship with alcohol. If you're drinking and you're drinking in the evening, you're almost always going to have hot flashes when you're coming into your 40s and your 50s, okay? And probably beyond. So alcohol is a no bueno, okay? You need to evaluate your blood sugar. Unstable blood sugar, you will wake up in the middle of the night and you will have hot flashes. Unstable blood sugar during the day, combined with dehydration and stress, you will have a daytime hot flash and sweat. So you can talk to your provider about bringing in some estrogen. Typically, estrogen is what will help with the hot flashes. If you have a uterus, I mean, I say for all of our clients now, just based on all of the data and research, if you're taking estrogen, I do believe you should be taking progesterone. We have receptors for it everywhere, not just in the uterus and the ovaries. But also, you have to spend time with someone if you have hot flashes, getting your lifestyle in check. Your diet is very important. We can, like, literally with diet, a few different herbs. I use different concoctions from St. Francis Herb Farm. Like we use sage or black cohosh. It depends on the woman. I'm telling you, those night flashes and hot flashes, they're going to be a thing of the past if we get things in check. Okay. So, really important to pay attention to that. And the final piece here that I do not want you brushing under the rug, ladies, please sit up tall for this, is any changes in your cognitive function, your memory, your recall, your mood, your agency, your frontal cortex to be able to stay on task. Do you think that it is random and coincidental that right now the majority of women who are being diagnosed with some form of a neurodivergence, ADD, ADHD, are in the perimenopause window? Do we think that that is just coincidence? Do we actually think that it is purely ADHD? It's not. It is accumulation. It is an unsupported body, because how many of you were taught anything about your body that, not even today, but that there's a lot of familiar names in here? Anything that you have ever heard me teach about or other people you're listening to, were you taught those things about your body as a woman growing up? Did you already know the information? If the answer is no, if you didn't know the information, then you also would not have known any of the things to start to do or incorporate in your life to prevent any of the things you're feeling now to happen. So you have to live in the 50-50 in your bodies, ladies. You have to live in the 50% gratitude that we get this gift that we have. How lucky are we that we actually have a body that gives us symptoms, which is a communication. We have this beautiful story that's unfolding, and she talks to us. And then you live in the 50% of grace. You give yourself grace for what you did not know, that you could not do. And now you meet yourself in the today version, and you blend your gratitude and your grace, and you come to a place of now being empowered. And there's emotion that comes with it. You can be mad that you didn't know it. You can grieve that you didn't know it and be sad about it. But then you have to take that energy and you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay there and be stuck in the grief and be mad and frustrated and essentially become the victim that society wants you to be as a woman? Because you can choose that. It's free. You can hang out there. Or you flip that and you take all of that and now you put it into inspired action and you create one change. You eat in the morning. You drink more water. You put salt in your water. You go to bed a little bit earlier. You do something. You work with someone. You actually get yourself out of the seat of frustration and you work with somebody to help you bring these things together. Okay. I am an extremely well-resourced woman. I do this for a living. I live a very healthy lifestyle. It does not make me impervious to anything happening. I have noticed that my brain is a little bit more squirrely than it used to be, but I've noticed it. And this is the other piece of it. You have to stop dismissing, ignoring. If these were your children that were going through this, or this was your partner, there's not a chance in hell that you would just let a few more months, a few more years, a whole nother decade go by and just watch it and be like, it's just that thing. It's just perimenopause. It's just because you're a kid. It's just because you're a man. No, you would do something to dig deeper, and you deserve that as well. Okay. So that's it. That's it, ladies. This is it, Sally. We level up, ladies, and we share with our sisters. You have to become an ambassador of this for other women. I'm going to drop, and Tanya, I'm going to address in a sec. I'm going to drop 2 links here for you. Let me just pull them off of here because I want to do this for you right now. Hold on. Stay with me. Stay with me. Okay. I am going to see if this can paste inside of here for you all. And let's see if they'll hyperlink. Okay, they will. So This first one, this is the link to our testing packages, which they are on sale right now. If you use the code SELFLOVE200, SELFLOVE 200, you can save $200 off of any of those. Also, we have recomp. So here's what I'm going to say to you. If you're the woman where you're like, I need to assess, like do kind of a health audit right now. I need somebody to look maybe at testing I've had, help me understand what's going on. I want to be able to share what my symptoms are in my story, or I want to get new testing done. You would use the first link, the testing packages, okay? There's an application form in there. We need to understand what's going on in your body to know if we're the best team to work with you, because we do not say yes to everyone, because it's like I said before, I am not like interested in your credit card. I'm interested in helping you. And if you're telling me something where I'm like, we're not the best team for you, I'm going to refer you to someone else. The second link is Recomp. And this is with Christine on our team. So maybe you're here because you're like, I need to shift my body composition. My main focus right now is maybe you're sleeping great. You have all the other things in check, but you are like, I would like to lose this weight. I would like to lose some body fat. I'm really struggling on how to create a plan for myself, whether it's your nutrition and your training. That's working with Christine, which is that second link there, Recomp. Okay. You're welcome, April. And I hope this has been validating. I hope it has helped to illuminate. I'm going to come to Tanya's here in a sec, but I just want to ask this, like, have you learned something new? Have you learned something new? Do you feel a little bit more empowered? Are you understanding that you are not going to just define yourself because of your age or symptoms like, this is just perimenopause? We're going to stop that. We are going to stop that, okay? If you recently had a Dutch test done, depends how long ago you had it done. What I'd say, Tracy, is you can book an initial consult and then we can review it, look at it, and then talk to you about your symptoms and be like, does it even make sense to do it right now? There is a cadence with testing. It doesn't make sense to retest too close together because there hasn't been enough time in change to happen. So for instance, if we're looking at hormones, we would never retest your hormones prior to about 4 months. In order for there to be a change, whether you've started hormone therapy or you're starting lifestyle things to shift this, you've come off the pill, you've removed your IUD, we need a minimum of 3 to 4 months in order for the signaling from the brain to the ovaries and back up to resync. If we go test before that, we're wasting money and we're not going to get effective results. It's not going to give us the true picture. So it's also, when you work with someone, it is understanding the cadence of how you would test. We're not willy-nilly about this. Like, there has to be a strategy in how you are doing this. Cannot stay on task, terrible brain fog, was diagnosed with ADHD at 52. I'm on estrogen and progesterone, no booze, but still having hot flashes during the day and dysregulated temperature at night. Migraines, tired but wired, now 55, barely functioning. I'm very sorry that is how it is feeling right now. I don't know who you have worked with. I don't know what the approach has been. What I would say, Tanya, is that if this was me feeling like this and I've put some of these different lifestyle things in place, I would be looking for a second opinion. And it's not that here's the thing I just want to say. We have women that have come and work with us and they go work with other people to just get a second opinion. It's like, I just wouldn't settle unless two things. Finding somebody where I feel like they're actually listening to me and they hear me. I'm not just being farmed in and farmed out. You're listening to me. You're not just looking at me and going, oh, she's 46. This is what she gets. Fuck that. Listen to me, listen to my story, because my story is not the same as anyone else. So I want that practitioner. The second thing you all have to understand is your practitioner can't fix you. I don't care how good they are. Their job is actually not to fix you or heal you. Their job is to teach you, to empower you, to connect with you, to help you understand what's going on with your body and to lead you in the right direction. And then you have to take the responsibility of doing the things that they're telling you. This is also 50-50 of doing and being. You're going to need to take action to do certain things. And then all of us are going to have to shift some of the ways that we are being. Controlling, lackadaisy, not honest with ourselves, saying yes when we need to say no, not having boundaries. You're going to have to change something about the way that you have been living your life up to this point. And it can feel wildly uncomfortable until it feels so liberating. But if you're in that place where you're just like, I fucking want to crawl out of my skin, perfect timing. Year of the snake, gone. moving into this vibrant new energy, but you don't need a Chinese lunar new year or a new moon or full moon or the zodiac to tell you that. You can choose this at 2:30 p.m. on a Thursday. You have to take that radical responsibility. Okay. All right. I want to say thank you all joining me today. You have full permission to share this with whoever you want. Like, I would love if you would, not just because it helps us spread our mission, but how many other women do you know in your life who need to hear this information? Get your body and your system into such a calibrated place in the spring so that you can come into the summer months and just feel like, I have a strategy, I have a team, I have a plan, I have a focus. And this is so important right now. This is your foundation. So you can have great results doing things right now. Please understand this. As women, you're going to go through about 3 decades of changes. Okay. So your mid 30s to your mid 40s to your mid 50s and to your mid 60s. So, what is going to be required of my body today at 46? I understand and know is going to probably change in a few years, and I'm going to have to shift and calibrate that. I still get a period. At some point, I'm not. Even when my period is gone, a couple years later, I'm going to have to shift that. You have to start building your foundation now. Okay. I think it's critical for you as a woman. All right. All right, friends. I'm so happy that you've enjoyed all of this. Definitely applicable to your 22-year-old. So the one with digestive issues and energy issues, her energy is connected to her digestive issues. If you cannot break down what you are eating, you cannot absorb the nutrients. If you can't absorb the nutrients, it can't get into your cells, and energy starts in your cells. It is your mitochondria. It is all connected. So Kyla, you can use that code and book your 22-year-old daughter in with Stephanie to look at doing some support for that. Testing in your mid 60s, Aggie, this would be different. I'm not going to go test your hormones in your mid 60s, but I would 100% be doing the full blood panel. I'd be looking at your thyroid. And I shouldn't say that. If you were on hormone replacement therapy, I might run some metabolic testing to see how well your body's managing your HRT. But the stool testing and that, yeah, it's like age isn't this defining parameter of what we do and we don't do. It comes down to the individual for that. Okay, friends, have a kick-ass rest of your weekend. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.